Hello, everyone. This is your undisputed scholar, Scholar Tarek, welcoming you to the premiere episode of Raw Deal, where we go and break down the most recent episodes of WWE Monday Night Raw and to give my personal thoughts on the show. Now, I'm hoping to do this with the rest of the wrestling shows later in the week, but I figured go ahead and start with Monday Night Raw. No, excuse me, the season premiere of Monday Night Raw. And let's go right ahead and dive right into the show and look at the new theme song to Monday Night Raw. And yeah, it's not really leaving that much of an impression on me, at least first impressions. Maybe it'll grow over time, similar to the last theme song to Monday Night Raw, but I'm not getting my hopes up on that one. All right. Now on to the show itself. Let's go ahead, and the show opens up with Alexa Bliss in the middle of the ring, reintroducing the Fiend Bray Wyatt to Monday Night Raw. And I will never get tired of the Fiend's entrance. It's just chilling. It's terrifying. The stone cold face that's on Alexa Bliss, not moving, just staring deep into the camera. It looks like he's staring into your soul as the Fiend slowly does his entrance with his Bray Wyatt head lantern. I love every second of it. And once the theme song ends, Retribution's logo starts spreading all over the Thunderdome when Retribution come out and surround Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss, surrounding the ring, looking like they're getting ready for the attack. But Bray and Alexa, they're not even flinching. They're not even like looking concerned. They're just looking straight into the camera. And just as Retribution is getting ready for that attack, boom, the lights go out. Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss are gone. But who would show up once the light comes back on? Well, the Hurt Business, setting up for an 8-man tag match between Retribution and the Hurt Business. And as far as matches go, it was an okay match. Nothing special. Just, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes tops. I believe they went to a commercial, but that's just after they had their brawl before the match itself. But the match itself only lasted one segment. So it was like maybe 5-10 minutes in between that. But the big factor on it is the booking decision of having Bobby Lashley put T-Bar in a full Nelson to quickly submit in Retribution's first match loss. Yeah, it's not really leaving much of an impact when you have your first match, especially after revealing your leader of Mustafa Ali, and you just go ahead and lose quite decisively, really, against the Hurt Business. And after that, the lights go out again, and right there is the Fiend returns. Bray Wyatt and comes and just completely annihilates Retribution, takes down Slapjack, takes down Mace, goes after Mustafa Ali, but T-Bar makes the save and the sacrifice. And if you're trying to book a new heel faction, this was an automatic fail. I actually hated this. I hope this leads to no feud with Retribution for the Fiend Bray Wyatt, because honestly, he completely annihilated them. This whole segment completely, people will throw the word bury around, but yeah, I have to agree. This was just a complete another fail, complete another burial for Retribution. If you had any sign to show some intimidation with this group, you completely failed it. If anything, you could at least had them have their first match, their first victory against the Hurt Business. Make them look strong if you're going to do something with the Fiend Bray Wyatt. But later in the show, we find out that may not be the case. But yeah, all around, this first segment was the first segment, I believe, was the first half hour of Monday Night Raw. Complete and utter fail. Next up, we get AJ Styles coming in with the doorman for Raw, for the now closed Raw Underground. His name is I don't know, Jordan Omagbian. If I missay it, I apologize, but I'll just call him the Raw Underground Doorman, or the Raw Underground Bodyguard, as they were calling him on Raw. Automatically being the bodyguard for AJ Styles. Where's the story in that? You just have AJ Styles show up with this ginormous man. God, this guy is humongous. But why would he want to join with AJ Styles? What's the story there? That's my biggest complaint of this whole segment, is that AJ Styles comes out and immediately this ginormous man shows up right behind him, and he's automatically a bodyguard. No build up, no story, nothing. It's just, hey, here he is. Rumors were going around the internet that AJ Styles was going to get a bodyguard. Well, there you go. Rumors turned out to be true, and apparently WWE don't want to give us any story to give us that. It's just, here it is. Accept it. And AJ Styles goes on a promo saying he's going to be the face that runs the place for Monday Night Raw, which leads to a match with Matt Riddle. And, excuse me. I will say, although they don't have a story introducing why AJ Styles and the Raw Underground Bodyguard Doorman just are a unit for reasons, but I will say, the Doorman Bodyguard, he is a very intimidating force. At first, he didn't want to leave the ring, but so Matt Riddle and AJ Styles can have a match. And when the ref was trying to count to 5 that will disqualify AJ Styles, the guy just grabs the ref hand after 3, and he's just like, you're not continuing this count. The ref obviously shits his pants and says, look, man, I'm just trying to do my job. Please, you can do whatever you want afterwards. Just please leave the ring so we can have the match, which he inevitably does. And he even shows a little intimidation to Matt Riddle at one point just to cut off his momentum. And the match itself was a very good match. This actually was a very, very entertaining Raw match, to say the least, between Matt Riddle and AJ Styles. And it ends with Matt Riddle ending up outside the ring. The bodyguard shows up. I'll just keep calling him the bodyguard. He shows up to Matt Riddle, closes his hand into a fist to intimidate Matt Riddle, which it succeeds, as Matt Riddle runs right back into the ring, right into a Styles clash to give AJ Styles the win. Well, hopefully this will lead to actually something big for AJ Styles, now having this humongous, intimidating man as your bodyguard. All right. Then we get a video package building up Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton in their Hell in a Cell match. And nothing really can be said about WWE and their video packaging. It was a very entertaining video package. And it has Drew McIntyre afterwards giving a backstage promo with Charlie Caruso. Basically, it's like going on about this is going to be his first Hell in a Cell match, and he's not at all intimidated. He's ready to go through hell to keep the WWE Championship. And he says that with Randy Orton having his own promo later in the night, expect him to be there. And that ends that segment. And now starting with hour 2, we get the Raw Women's Championship, Asuka defending against Lana, which I even had to make sure the timing was right. I actually timed this match down. The match lasted for 2 minutes and 19 seconds, where Asuka just takes out Lana. There was some good chain wrestling. At least I will give it that. There wasn't anything sloppy. It was a very fast-paced match. They did so much in the less than 3 minutes that they were given. All to be having Asuka go ahead, put her in the Asuka lock. Lana taps out quickly. And immediately after the match, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax comes out, puts Lana through the table through the fifth week in a row. Because, of course, we got to keep destroying Lana, apparently. And once Shayna goes after Asuka, but Asuka is able to fight Shayna off and retreat back to the locker room, which leads to a in-ring promo between Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, basically talking about how they are the most dominant force in the women's division for both Raw and SmackDown, considering they're the women tag team champions, which I did notice they excluded NXT, which is, yeah, to hell with that. You got to include NXT as well. I mean, those were the rules for the women's tag team championship. You can't just drop NXT. Come on, stop treating your third brand like garbage, WWE. That was my immediate response. My immediate response is when Nia Jax like, we're the top of the women of both Raw and SmackDown. And my immediate response was, what about NXT? Fuck that. Had to drop one. And so they issue an open challenge, which brings out Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, the most random pairing ever of Lana and Peyton Royce, which I will give them credit. What they did with those characters of being a tag team of each person trying to one up each other. It was actually it got a good chuckle out of me, but this is not a real tag team. They're not gonna start anything. This is just a one-time deal. And I also would argue you broke up the Iconics just to have Peyton Royce in another tag team. But again, I don't think this is a real tag team. I think it's a one-time deal. It's just two single wrestlers wanting to them basically showing the rest of the women's division on the Raw side. That's all that this was. But again, they were hilarious, working off each other. Just basically two big ego characters trying to block the spot, take the spotlight from one another. It was good comedic duo between the two. And then the third team that came out were the Riot Squad of Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. Of course, they are the big faces of the women's tag team. At least, yeah, women's tag team on the Raw. Oh, they're not even on the Raw side. They even emphasized that this is their last appearance on Raw before staying on SmackDown. But hey, brand split, LOL. But they said this is their last appearance, so hopefully, fingers crossed, but highly doubt it, that WWE will keep right on the brand extension. Again, I guess this is my optimistic point of view that I get from Jeff. But when it comes to this fatal 4-way women's tag match, this was a really, really well booked match. I actually enjoyed this match thoroughly. The biggest thing to come out of it was the Riot Squad looking extremely strong, and we're very close to getting that victory until Shayna Baszler dragged Ruby Riott out and choked her out and threw in the ring so Nia Jax can get a tag, and they took out Lacey Evans. Sorry, Jeff. But yeah, of course, it was the thing where, of course, I'm not happy with the fact that Nia Jax got the victory here, but obviously I get it. They did this whole promo about being the dominant force of the women's division. So while keeping the Riot Squad looking strong, Shayna and Nia steal the win. It makes sense. All right, next segment was the Elias Jeff Hardy storyline. First, we get a recap of why Elias has beef with Jeff Hardy, with the whole Jeff Hardy's car running over Sheamus on SmackDown, which I noticed Byron Saxton pointing out, says, it was never proven that Jeff Hardy was the one behind the wheel of the car that ran over Elias. And Tom Phillips responds to that with, "The culprit is still at large." And my immediate response was, wait a second. How can that be right? They already revealed on SmackDown who was the one that ran over Elias. It was Sheamus to continue the story, the feud between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus on SmackDown yesteryear. But whatever. Continuity. Boom. So they show that, and Elias, in promoting his new album, I forgot to write it down. Something Universal. He played two of his songs called "Amen" and "Lead Me Home," which I actually found "Lead Me Home" to be the more entertaining song, excuse me, between the two. And of course, the concert he goes to the concert. Nothing happens. He hands a man in black his guitar. He says, "All right, thank you for joining. I hate you all," which got a good chuckle out of me, continuing the Elias knowing how to get a good heel heat from the crowd. And of course, he's like, "Oh, you guys want an encore? Well, okay, I'll continue playing more of my songs for my album that will be released Monday." He asks for his guitar back, and the man in black goes ahead and plays a note on the guitar, which reveals to be Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy takes a swing at Elias with his guitar and misses. And with him yelling, "I wasn't the one who ran you over, bro." And that ended that segment. And it shows Elias backstage challenging Jeff Hardy to a match at Hell in a Cell, which on Raw Talk afterwards, Jeff Hardy accepts. So we get Jeff Hardy versus Elias. Okay. Next segment is the worst storyline on SmackDown that has now moved to Raw. The storyline between John Morrison and The Miz versus half of Heavy Machinery and Tuckus. And for the people who actually follow us on the Scholars of Wrestling, I know it's Tucker, but we decided to reverse it and call him Tuckus and Oder. All right, so yeah, we have The Miz and Morrison backstage talking about how they broke up Heavy Machinery. They broke up Tucker away from Otis. They broke up Mandy Rose away from Otis, and he's going to win the Money in the Bank contract through court. Continuing being one of the worst storylines. Then you have Tucker showing up and basically challenging them to a tag team match later. And of course, Miz and Morrison making fun of, "Oh, good luck finding a tag team partner." And that was the segment for that, building up for their tag team match later in the show. What closes hour 2 is Sheamus continuing his feud with members of the New Day and facing Kofi Kingston. And nothing more can be said when it comes to Sheamus facing a member of the New Day. They've worked with each other so many times that we know we're going to get a good match. There was one spot where Sheamus collapsed and he had to basically fix himself to set up an Alabama slam, but it happens. But Kofi ends up winning. Possibly ending their feud. Who knows? Starting with hour 3, we get the return of Retribution, trying to basically making it okay the fact that they got buried earlier in the show, though in a backstage segment, which Mustafa Ali reveals that he was indeed the SmackDown hacker, and he basically is like, "Oh, we're not here to show our strength in numbers," which obviously that's obviously the case, because it doesn't matter if you have numbers. You have her business destroying you and Bray Wyatt burying you. So sorry. But of course he still goes that now we have all the secrets and we're going to expose the greed of WWE. Here's the thing. I like Mustafa Ali. I don't love him, but he is a very good talker. He is very good mouthpiece for for Retribution, but it's impossible to take Retribution seriously if they're just basically getting destroyed. And I've seen people argue on the internet, well, you've seen Stone Cold Steve Austin take out the corporation or members of DX. And my counter argument with that is it's different because the corporation or DX established themselves as an actual threat. They've taken down big names in the past. They've left their mark as legitimate threats to people. So when one superstar manages to basically fight them off, it's kind of a big deal at that, because the one person stands up to this threatening group of individuals. When it comes to this, with Retribution, they've really done nothing to legitimize them as a threat to WWE. So I want them to succeed, but it's impossible to see it happen being booked this way, being booked like utter shit. That's the truth. All right. So now we get, that didn't take long. We get the resolution of Miz and Morrison versus Tuckus and his mystery tag team partner, which turns out to be, I wrote it down as Lucha Oder, or as he called him, El Gran Gordo, which translates to the big fat man. Okay. And it was nothing more than Oder dressed up as a luchador just to get him on Raw. They're basically pulling a Mr. America with Hulk Hogan way back when, just so Oder can be on Raw. It's fun. Miz goes on just basically calling Oder a joke, saying he doesn't deserve the Money in the Bank briefcase. When he had it, he changed it so he can be that main event level, and he main evented WrestleMania. And really, after Miz's promo going on about how he's basically going to steal the Money in the Bank briefcase from Oder. I got to stop doing that. To Oder. This is me kind of fantasy booking. If they are going to get the Money in the Bank briefcase off Oder, I want them to do it as a tag team match at Hell in a Cell. Miz and Morrison versus Tuckus and Oder. And whoever gets the winning pin wins the briefcase. And I really want it to be like Miz is basically throughout the entire program thinking he's one step ahead of Oder, and he's planned everything out to have John Morrison basically betray him and basically win the Money in the Bank briefcase for himself. I want John Morrison to win the briefcase. But we get this tag team match. Okay, it was just a match. And the match ends. I do like the fact that the commentary did refer to him as the Revolting Blob. I like that Billy Madison reference. The match ends with Miz looking like he's about to get the victory when R-Truth runs in and he's being chased by Drew Gulak and Akira Tozawa and the two members of Lucha House Party that were traded to Raw, yet they had to stop and look at Otis as dressed up as a luchador, which that actually did get a fun chuckle out of me. I actually was hoping that they actually would interact somehow, but it was enough to keep Miz distracted, and Lucha Order managed to do the caterpillar and the body splash for the win. And then you see them Lucha Oder and Tuckus celebrating with the New Day, and then you see Mandy Rose show up and give Lucha Oder a giant thing of ham, which my immediate response is, oh, why couldn't you have Dana Brooks show up too and just have little googly eyes at Tuckus? But again, that's just my that's just me fantasy booking. Uh, there was I forgot earlier before the tag team match, there was a backstage segment with the Hurt Business and Titus O'Neil basically offering to join the Hurt Business, and they beat him up. That happened. Okay. Next is the Firefly Funhouse, which, of course, you can't go wrong with a Firefly Funhouse episode. The one thing I liked most about this is, well, other than the Firefly Funhouse debut of Alexa Bliss, which was her dressing up as a sexy Freddy, which was very, 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 very sexy indeed, was when Bray Wyatt was going through all this, basically going through his stuff that he brought with him to Monday Night Raw. What does he pull out other than the black sheep mask for Braun Strowman? Hint number one that they may bring back that rivalry, but the cross that Randy Orton used to quote unquote murder the spirit of Sister Abigail. Nice foreshadowing at a good possible feud in the future between the Legend Killer and the Fiend. He never forgets. And the final match of the night, or the main event match of the night, not the main event segment, was Braun Strowman versus Keith Lee, and this sucked. Nothing more else to say other than, yeah, they tried their best. But all in all, it didn't look well with me. And the match ends with Braun Strowman basically headbutting Keith Lee in the nuts, and which led to a big boot, and Braun Strowman picked up the victory over Keith Lee. Yay. Which, of course, Keith Lee was just like, I'm not happy about this. So he basically turned Braun around and kicked him in the nuts to even the score of hitting each other in the nuts. All right, they're basically recycling the AJ Styles Shinsuke Nakamura nut hitting feud for Braun Strowman and Keith Lee. Yay. And so going on to the main event segment, we have Randy Orton cutting a promo inside the Hell in the Cell, and just how talking about his history inside the cell when he faced the people like Daniel Bryan, Jeff Hardy, Mark Henry, The Undertaker especially, and how he gained The Undertaker's respect in Hell in the Cell, and just how he feels at home at Hell in the Cell. It was a very good segment, very good Randy Orton segment, very good build to their Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell. Then Drew McIntyre comes out ready to basically fight Orton, but with Orton chaining the cell closed, he's just going, haha, now you can't come in. You have to wait till Sunday. But Drew planned well ahead for this, and hidden inside the Thunderdome, he has bolt cutters and cuts the chain off. And Raw ends with Drew McIntyre closing the door, saying, I don't know, what was it that he said? He says, I'm ready to go to hell with you, or something like that. And that closes out Monday Night Raw. So as a build-up to Hell in a Cell, you only really had two matches really building up for Hell in a Cell. You have Drew and Randy, which actually is very good. And then you have basically the thrown together match of Elias and Jeff Hardy. So no one cares about that. All in all, it was a very meh episode of Raw. The wrestling was good. They had some fun moments. The Firefly Funhouse was great. The 8-women tag team match was very enjoyable. Matt Riddle and AJ Styles was very good, and the potential of AJ Styles with the Raw Underground bodyguard behind him. There were some good stuff, but there are also a lot of bad in this. The complete and utter burial of Retribution. Let's see. the Jeff Hardy versus Elias. The story is not really interesting to me, but at least the concert was somewhat enjoyable. And Miz and Morrison continues to suck. So all in all, and the Braun Strowman and Keith Lee. In the end, I'll just give this a very, very low 3 out of 5 classic goatee Raw. So that's it for Raw Deal. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my little rundown of Monday Night Raw. And be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at ScholarsOW, follow me at the Avatar, and you can follow my fellow scholars, Scholar Jeff at I'm Robbie Rage, and the Scholars of Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, Scholar Brian at Atomic Beanpole, and Scholar Charlie at Charlene. And be sure to join us this week for our Hell in a Cell prediction show. This is your undisputed Scholar Tarek saying, Raw Deal. Can't do that so many times. Yeah.